I believe in the scientific method. I don't blow your mind or anything, but the scientific method is like, if you cannot test the hypothesis, then you cannot reach a meaningful conclusion that it is true. We can dramatically improve our understanding of consciousness. I'd be hard-pressed to say that we understand anything with complete accuracy, but can we dramatically improve our understanding of consciousness? I believe the answer is yes. But it's different. There's the scientific method, which I very much believe in, where something is true to the degree that it is testably so. And otherwise, you're really just talking about, preferences or untestable beliefs or that kind of thing. So it ends up being somewhat of a semantic question where we are conflating a lot of things with the word intelligence. If we parse them out and say, are we headed towards the future where an AI will be able to outthink us in every way? Then the answer is unequivocally yes. I mean, to me, in terms of what consciousness feels like, it feels like consciousness is in a different dimension. But this could be just an illusion. If you damage your brain in some way physically, you damage your consciousness, which implies that consciousness is a physical phenomenon, in my view. The thing is that I think are really quite likely is that digital intelligence will be able to outthink us in every way, and it will soon be able to simulate what we consider consciousness. So to a degree that you would not be able to tell the difference. If you can't tell the difference, and this is sort of the Turing test, but think of a more sort of advanced version of the Turing test. If you're talking to a digital superintelligence and can't tell if that is a computer or a human, like let's say you're just having a conversation over a phone or a video conference or something where you think you're talking, looks like a person, makes all of the right inflections and movements and all the small subtleties that constitute a human, and talks like a human, makes mistakes like a human, and you literally just can't tell, are you video conferencing with a person or an AI? I think there's a tremendous amount of investment going on in AI. Where there's a lack of investment is in AI safety, and there should be, in my view, a government agency that oversees anything related to AI to confirm that it does not represent a public safety risk. Just as there is a regulatory authority there's like the Food and Drug Administration, there's NHTSA for automotive safety, there's the FAA for aircraft safety. We generally come to the conclusion that it is important to have a government referee or a referee that is serving the public interest in ensuring that things are safe when there's a potential danger to the public. I would argue that AI is unequivocally something that has potential to be dangerous to the public, and therefore should have a regulatory agency, just as other things that are dangerous to the public have a regulatory agency. But let me tell you, the problem with this is that the government moves very slowly, and usually the way a regulatory agency comes into being is that something terrible happens. There's a huge public outcry, and years after that, there's a regulatory agency or a rule put in place. Take something like seatbelts. It was known for, I don't know, a decade or more that seatbelts would have a massive impact on safety and save so many lives and serious injuries. And the car industry fought the requirement to put seatbelts in tooth and nail. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people probably died because of that. And they said people wouldn't buy cars if they had seatbelts, which is obviously absurd. Or look at the tobacco industry and how long they fought anything about smoking. That's part of why I helped make that movie, Thank You for Smoking. You can sort of see just how pernicious it can be when you have these companies effectively achieve regulatory capture of government. It's bad. People in the AI community refer to the advent of digital superintelligence as a singularity. That is not to say that it is good or bad, but that it is very difficult to predict what will happen after that point, and that there's some probability it will be bad, some probability it will be good. We obviously want to affect that probability and have it be more good than bad. Yeah, I think the work in NeuraLink will definitely shed a lot of insight into how the brain and the mind works. Right now, just the data we have regarding how the brain works is very limited. We've got fMRI, which is that's kind of like putting a stethoscope on the outside of a factory wall and then putting it like all over the factory wall, and you can sort of hear the sounds, but you don't know what the machines are doing really. It's hard. You can infer a few things, but it's very broad brushstroke. In order to really know what's going on in the brain, you have to have high precision sensors, and then you want to have stimulus and response. Like if you trigger a neuron, how do you feel? What do you see? How does it change your perception of the world? Being able to have high precision sensors that tell you what individual neurons are doing, and then being able to trigger the neuron and see what the response is in the brain, so you can see the consequences of if you fire this neuron, what happens? How do you feel? What does it change? It'll be really profound to have this in people, because people can articulate their change, like if there's a change in mood, or if they can tell you if they can see better or hear better, or be able to form sentences better or worse, or their memories are jogged, or that kind of thing. So it will be the machine that adapts to the brain. That's the only thing that's possible. The brain can't adapt that well to the machine. You can't have neurons start to regard an electrode as like another neuron, because like neurons just there's like the pulse, and so something else is pulsing. So there is that elasticity in the interface, which we believe is something that can happen. But the vast majority of the malleability will have to be on the machine side. There will be some adjustment to the brain, because there's going to be something reading and simulating the brain, and so it will adjust to that thing. But the vast majority of the adjustment will be on the machine side. This is just it has to be that, otherwise it will not work. Ultimately, like we currently operate on two layers. We have sort of a limbic, like prime primitive brain layer, which is where all of our kind of impulses are coming from. It's sort of like we've got like a monkey brain with a computer stuck on it. That's the human brain. And a lot of our impulses and everything are driven by the monkey brain. And the computer, the cortex, is constantly trying to make the monkey brain happy. It's not the cortex that's steering the monkey brain, it's the monkey brain steering the cortex. The cortex is like what we call like human intelligence. So it's like that's like the advanced computer relative to other creatures. Other creatures do not have either. Really, they don't have the computer, or they have a very weak computer relative to humans. But it's like it sort of seems like surely the really smart thing should control the dumb thing, but actually the dumb thing controls the smart thing, and that AI is basically neural net. So it's like digital neural net will interface with biological neural net, and hopefully bring us along for the ride. But the vast majority of our intelligence will be digital. There's think of like the difference in intelligence between the cortex and your limbic system is gigantic. Your limbic system really has no comprehension of what the hell the cortex is doing. It's just literally hungry, or tired, or angry, or sexy, or something. And then that communicates that impulse to the cortex and tells the cortex to go satisfy that. So then a great deal of like a massive amount of thinking, like a truly stupendous amount of thinking, has gone into sex without purpose, without procreation. Which is actually quite a silly action in the absence of procreation. It's a bit silly. But I mean, this is a lot of computation has gone into how can I do more of that with procreation not even being a factor. This is, I think, a very important area of research for NSFW.